Welcome back, viewer. Today we are talking about bringing up children in the non-traditional family structures. What is your take on the same? Send in your question, your comments across all our social media platforms. That's GBS TV Africa. Our SMS line is 21144. So before we went on a break, gentlemen, I had asked a question of the society that we are in, of the LGBTQ. What is your take on that? Would you say that the children brought up with the same-sex parenting and also the single parenting, that they are more open-minded and diverse when it comes to relating with the people around them? Mr. James.
That's a very interesting statistic and also a very interesting question. First of all, I'd like to say that there's a difference between open-mindedness and perversiveness. Because we have permissiveness that borders on being perversive, okay? So we might say that they are more open-minded, but in actual sense what we are saying is they are more perversive. They are more permissive to promiscuity, permissive to disorientation, because this is what we know to be normal. The line called normal is not, what can I say? It is not relative. Normal is normal, abnormal is abnormal. When you make abnormal normal, then you're simply being permissive and not really open-minded. So you can be brainwashed and whitewashed into thinking that what is wrong is right. And so as the society grows, it grows immune to what is what the Bible would call sin. Sin is now being taken as a relative term. Like there is no black and white. It depends on how you feel about it. So if you feel right, then there's nothing wrong with it. But you see, the society we live in is permissive to that extent. So I would call for individual approach on this matter. As a parent, do you think that the statistics, first of all, are right? Because when I look at statistics and surveys, I always look at it in two ways. Because I believe whoever pays the piper determines the tune. So who's coming up with these statistics, who's doing these surveys, and why? What is the agenda? Because behind every statistic, behind every survey, there's an underlying objective. What was the objective? What are we promoting? And what are we trying to demote? So it's up to the individual parent to go back to their conscience and think, do I want to be that permissive? Do I want to be that perversive? Or do I want to stick to the traditional right and wrong that I know and I was brought up with? Because right and wrong are black and white. There's no gray area concerning what is right and what is wrong. So we can't have a gray area even when it comes to parenting. We know that a family is made up of father, mother, and children. That's biology. It's not even religion. You get? So we are not being religious. We are being as basic as biological. That it takes a father, a male figure, and a mother to have a fetus that can grow into a human being. So you can't have two parents that are male or two parents that are female and say one is a father and one is a mother. They will say that they are identifying as such, but that doesn't make them. There's a way a woman is made to be a mother, to nurture a child. There's a way a man is made and engineered to be a father and to bring up a child that two men cannot. So even if a man was to orient himself and say, I'm the mother in this relationship, he doesn't have maternal instincts that are natural, that are inborn, that are innate in a woman. He can't acquire them. He can't learn them. He can't study them. So he can't fill the gap of a mother.
You said something interesting. You said it's biological.
Yes.
Meanings that means it's something that I read somewhere. Someone was saying what we believe in is what you're found people saying and what was written before. But over time, if you're taught something new and something that will bypass or will bring more understanding from what you believe, you'll surely forget it. So for right now, you've mentioned about a normal family structure is a father and mother. Right now we
Where
are
father is man and,
and
mother is woman.
Yes.
Yes.
Now we are having the belief system that is being brought up in this current generation, and it's being advocated for more so on the West, where we are having a father and a mother being same sex, can be a man, both men, or ladies, both ladies. These beliefs are being brought out to bypass the understanding of the normal of a man and a woman being the parents or the founders of these family structures. This is what is being out, being outdated,
Yes.
and what we are calling the current millennial generation of accepting and embracing this kind of family structures. What is your take on the same, Mr. Benjamin?
About a story from my culture. You know, as I said, that there is nothing new under the sun.
Sure.
There was a time, some times back, that if, let's say, for example, you were married, and then you had no kids, or even you had a kid, and then maybe she or he passed on, and then your husband also passed on. If you don't feel like you need to get married, there was a certain way that you would get a woman, stay with her, but it was you to determine who will give, who will come and bear a child with that woman. So you would bring people from your tribe, from your family, you'd look for a person, and then you would bring them. And as my friend said, a family setup, we know very well. It has a mother and it has a father. So the reason why this woman would go to the family and bring one man so that they may bear a child was simply because he wanted to tell these kids, this is your father. Even though you're not staying together, yes, I live with your mother, but this is your father. So they would leave, and then they would live together, knowing that they have a mother and they have a father, but they don't stay together with the father. They have now the overall, who is now you who are left, and then you took a woman, you kept in the house, you should be bringing her. I know.
Isn't that a belief?
Of course, I wouldn't call it a belief. I would call it, I don't know. Because of that, you know, he talked about something from the Bible, and then he said, God saw that it was not good that Adam would live alone. So because of that, you know, that loneliness, that was leading that woman to do that, to bring a person so that they may stay together. And when they're staying together, they need to have kids. So he wouldn't allow that woman to go just to anyone and bear kids.
True.
It is her who was supposed to determine which man will come. So because of that, this is what I want to say. You know, there is nothing new under the sun. But for people who do not know anything about the spiritual world, they think these are new things. These are new inventories, that they are doing some new, you know, it's like an adventure. Now a man and a man can live with a child. Let me tell you one thing, whether we like it or not, in the world of the heart, there is something that you cannot force people to do. Even these kids, they are in their own world of the heart. And I'm sorry to tell you this, in the world of isolation, you may live with people, you are eating together, you are dancing together, you are walking together, you are doing everything together, but you are isolated. You are living in your own other world. These kids, we may pretend that we are okay because the man and the man, they know why they came together. How about the child? These two people, when they go out in their own world, knowing what they are doing. How about the child? This child will go to school. People, even the teachers, do we have teachers who are like that? No. Who are teaching them in school and telling them they have to stay like that? No. So they will be talking about your mother, your father, isn't it? So when they talk about your mother, your father, I'm sorry to say this. There is something that affected me when I was growing up. My father passed on when I was a young boy. So when I was in school, because I was young, I did not understand where my father went. Because that time even we had, ilikuwa ni kama sherehe. You know, there is this kind of food, soda, what, so you are celebrating. You cry because you saw your mother crying, you saw your brothers crying, you saw your sisters crying, but you don't know exactly why they are crying. So when we went to school, when the kids were talking about their fathers, for me, I would be confused. Now, what should I talk about? Because I don't know. I have never seen my father for quite some time. Now, what am I supposed to talk about? Yes, I will not show them. But deep inside my heart, I'm thinking about myself. And where did my father go? And who is my father? So these kids, as now they meet with other students in school, and then the students are talking about their mother. My mother came and then she brought me this. You know, there is that love from a mother. You have kids, right? There is that love you have towards your child. And there is that love that is in the heart of a father towards their kids. So you cannot tell me that you just assume that that baby, even though you brainwash them, that they will receive that love of a father from that setup of a family. You'll be lying.
Allow me to dwell more on this matter because it's something sensitive in our society. Maybe coming to you, Mr. James. Having mentioned these kind of family setups, with the so-called millennial children who are bringing forth the Gen Zs, also from research and also news going around, we are having children who are growing up and embracing this, the LGBTQ society. And right now in the West, we are having cases of me being a female wanting to change to be a male. And you as my parent, if you do not agree to it, I can sue you to the courts. Also, this is something that brought me to thinking. If I bore you as a girl and you want to change yourself or transform yourself to be a man, it also requires a lot of financial resources. And you're suing me for that because you say it's your right to get to choose whether you want to be a female or a male. Growing up from the normal, you say you never chose your parent, you never chose to be born a male or a female. But right now we're being told that we have the right or the platform to choose. Do you think that is something that should be embraced and carried on in this current society and generation that we are bringing our children to?
Wow. Let me say this. There is what we call a right, and there is what is right. Under the law, there are so many rights, and rights are made or created by human beings.
Sure.
What is a right is not necessarily right. Let's take a simple example. I have the right of speech, the freedom of speech. So I can talk. It's my right to talk. What I want and what I feel when I want. But it is not right for me to use that right to be abusive to you, to use vulgar language, to abuse you, to insult you. Then that, I'll be breaking another right of yours. I'll be defaming you, right? So it's important to know that not everything that has been created under a legal framework by man becomes right just because it has become a right under the law. So we have rights under the law, which must be respected as human rights, but then we have what is right under the innate nature of man, all right? So as human beings, there is what is right and what is wrong, and then there is what we can legalize as right, though it is wrong. For example, we can have this whole debate about the issue of abortion. There are states and countries that have legalized abortion. Some people will tell you, no, that's wrong. Under the human nature, it will tell you, no, you're killing a baby. But somebody else will say, no, I have a right. It's my body. I have a right to decide whether I'm bringing forth this baby or not. It's my body. And it's me who decides whether I want this child or not. So it's a right. And they'll be told, we respect your rights. If today Kenya comes up and legalizes, let's say, homosexuality, Christians and religious organizations will have to consider that in as much as we respect their right to do what they want, under our belief system and our culture and our norms, this is wrong. So just because something has been made a right doesn't make it right. That would be my opinion of that.
Sure.
Yes.
Makes sense at all sorts more. Maybe coming to you, Mr. Benjamin, from the world of the heart, having talked about all this and not picking so much on the LGBTQ society. Before, you've said there is nothing new under the sun, meaning that to mention about the Sodom and Gomorrah from the Bible, it was there. But it was not as famous as it is today. Even looking back 10 years ago, it was not as so talked about in the society like we are talking today. We could know we are having such people in our society, but we could not talk about it. Even me as a lady saying I'm in love with another lady, it was an abomination. Coming to you as my father and telling you I'm interested, you'll be like, you're not from this family. I'm an outcast. But today we are embracing these brothers and sisters who are coming to say that I'm in love with my girl, I'm in love with this man, and we are of the same sex. And as parents, we are applauding. Some parents, not all, some parents are applauding and saying, it's better you've stepped out and talked about it. Is it something that you should embrace as a society and saying it is good that they are coming out to talk about it boldly? Or is it something that one should be ashamed of and saying that, and should be banished from it, how do I put it, from it being fueled, for lack of better words, being fueled for everyone to know that this is something cool, because now it's all about being cool and being accepted in the society.
I always want to talk about this wise man in the Bible. And once he said, guard your heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. So all the issues of life that you see with people, they originate from the heart, the word of their heart. But when we talk about the word of the heart, we are not talking about the organ that pumps our blood. We are talking about that mind, the inner person. Because that inner person is the one who decides. Is like the body is like a blind man, and the heart is the one that is leading the body. So the body will follow what the heart says. So when I look at everything, I'm not looking at everything with the eyes of men, because number one, people are living and then they're thinking about themselves. As my friend said, people are so selfish. And me, I will not talk of it as selfishness. I'll talk of it as isolation. People are isolated. They don't know what to do. And then to some extent, because you don't share. You know, this mind education, there is something we base on mind education. Number one, the ability to think deeply, or contemplation. You have to think about what you are doing. Yes, I met with this thing. Is it the right thing? There is the first level of thought, there is the second level of thought, and there is also the third level of thought. This can only happen to people who think deeply. Number two, we talk about the formation of a strong heart, which means if my heart is based on, like for example, there is this story about a person who built their house upon a rock. And there is a person who built their house upon the sand. You know, when the life that we are living now has many challenges, burdens, difficulties. And then I realized one thing, Even some people are getting now into that LGBTQ. They're not going there because they really want to go there. There is some pressure that is pushing them to go to that side. For example, people are looking for money. You don't get money. So what do? A person approaches you and then they're telling you, you join this, and then there's money. You're okay.
As we are approaching to finalize this discussion, some years back, we all suffered through the COVID-19 that brought us into a wake-up call of a lot of things being disrupted, the normal things, schedules and everything that we used to do. Before we could go to churches, COVID-19 brought about worshiping from home. We used to go to the offices. COVID-19 brought working from home. I would want to know, would this be also part of, now the COVID also destabilizing in terms of economy, now that you've mentioned about you don't have money and it's pressure bringing you to that direction. Would you say that the destability of this COVID-19 that has maybe fired the different family structures that you are coming up with, because now also because of COVID, even the normal family setups, right now I cannot come to visit you to see a newborn baby and you allow me to just hold the baby. Right now there are so many restrictions that were not there before. Would you also say that this was one of the things that also triggered the changes that you are seeing today with our family structures generally that were not there in the traditional? Mr. James.
Talking of COVID-19 and its aftermath, I think there are a number of factors there that are intertwined that COVID-19 just helped to bring out as opposed to it causing. One, the family had disintegrated, so to speak. We had busy parents who would be out of the home as early as 5 a.m., coming back as late as 8, 9 p.m. They had no relationship with their children. Working from home then and schools being closed forced these people to be in the same space and to get to know each other. So parents were learning things about their children that they didn't know. And kids were trying to form a bond with parents whom they had never known because they've been brought up by a house help. And so they're trying to understand who mommy is and who daddy is in that closed setup. And that is bound to bring some conflicts because in human relationships, we say conflicts bring out the best and the worst in us. So through conflict, you're able to understand each other. You're able to draw boundaries and to know whether those boundaries actually exist. You know what mommy can tolerate, what daddy can tolerate, and what they cannot. And so parents were learning or relearning to parent. Children were learning to understand their parents. That setup alone is able to actually cause chaos in the first place. And that's why there were so many cases where you'd find our family conflicts or family strife, either a man rising against the woman. There was a lot of domestic violence during that period of the lockdowns and so on, because people were now learning to express their emotions in ways they had not learned before. Before that, people would hide in their jobs, people would hide in their laptops, in their busy schedules, and not really have time to talk issues. But now, COVID-19, with the lockdown, you have to talk about this issue now, because it's you're not going anywhere. You can't say, I'm busy, let me rest somewhere, we'll talk about this in the evening or over the weekend. We have to talk about it now. And so it brought out the best and the worst in human beings. The other thing there is technology, and especially the internet. Because during that period is where we saw the rise of the free Wi-Fi, the unlimited Wi-Fi, and internet becoming cheaper. And with internet, you see a lot of things, both good and bad. Schools went online, so there was education online, there was e-learning, but with it came cyber crimes like hacking and people even hacking those online systems that were meant for education to spread pornography and other things. There was a lot of religious radicalization happening online during that period. And that's why kids under lockdown were exposed to a lot of things online that they wouldn't have been exposed to were they following the normal schedule of going to school and coming back home. So COVID-19 in itself did not actually cause anything other than bring out what was hidden, or whatever things we were sweeping under the carpet as a society is what was coming out. The broken relationships in families between couples who are married, the long distance relationships, when there was lockdown, for example, and you find maybe the husband is in Nairobi, the wife lives in Kisumu, and you can't have that inter-county traveling. And so issues of promiscuity came into being or went on the rise and such things. So COVID-19 helped to bring us to the realization of what the society has become. And for those who took advantage of it, were able to form better relationships in terms of couples coming together and actually understanding each other and finding better ways to communicate and resolve conflicts, better ways to raise their children and so on and so forth, how to handle the internet vis-a-vis raising their children, because most parents now have left their children to the internet. And that's why we are seeing all these vices coming up. Even the issue of homosexuality that we are talking about, it's propagated through the internet. So whatever looks cool online appeals more to the child. And if the child is overexposed to that more than the voice of the father or the voice of the mother, then more often than not, they will listen to what they hear more often.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for honoring my invite and our invite to the show. I'm being told that you're running out of time. Forgive me, Mr. Benjamin, I'm going to cut you short on this, and I'll sure invite you again to have a part 2 of the same, because I feel that you've tackled only so little about all this, and there is so much out there that we need to talk about and educate our viewer on the same. So as we wind up, in half a second for the both of you, I'd want you to give your parting shot on the same, maybe starting with you, Mr. Benjamin.
For me, I would say the third pillar of mind education is change through exchange. As you talk, as you communicate, there is change. The people who don't talk, they can never change.
Wow. Thank you. And to you, Mr. James?
Yeah, in my interaction with parents as a relationship coach and as a parenting coach, there's something I usually say, and that is right now in this day and age, we don't have watoto wa siku hizi. You know, there used to be a saying in Kiswahili, watoto wa siku hizi. The children of today are rotten, the children of today are spoiled. Now we have wazazi wa siku hizi. So the problem we have in society right now is not watoto wa siku hizi, it's wazazi wa siku hizi. So it's a parenting crisis that we need to resolve in order to bring up a better society. Yes.
Thank you so much for coming. We'll see you again soon. Viewer, I hope you've learned as much as I have. Let's continue this conversation online across all our social media networks. That's GBS TV Africa. Our SMS line is 21144. Till next time, have a nice time. Goodbye.